Nostradamus 2025 flood prophecy aligns with Bible warnings. Are we on the brink? Imagine waking up to the sound of rushing water. You scramble out of bed, but it's too late. Your home is already being swallowed by the flood. Streets turn into rivers. Families cling to rooftops, waiting for rescue. The world you once knew is unrecognizable, consumed by chaos. Natural disasters like floods, hurricanes, and wildfires are no longer rare occurrences. They're happening more frequently and with greater intensity. But could these catastrophes be more than just a product of nature? Could they be a warning, a message? Centuries ago, the famed seer Nostradamus predicted a time of catastrophic floods that would reshape the world. He wrote of overflowing rivers and great fire in the sky, words that eerily mirror the events we see unfolding today. But long before Nostradamus, the Bible spoke of an even greater flood, one that wiped out nearly all of humanity. The story of Noah's Ark is one of survival, judgment, and redemption. Are we witnessing history repeating itself? Have we ignored the warnings for too long? In this video, we will connect ancient prophecies to the reality of our world today. We will uncover the truth behind these predictions, explore the scientific evidence supporting them, and most importantly, ask, what does this mean for us? Stay with us as we unravel the mystery of the Great Flood prophecy. You won't want to miss this. Before we dive in, if you believe biblical wisdom still holds relevance in today's world, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Bible Pathways. It helps spread these important messages to more people who need to hear them. Now let's begin. Nostradamus's prediction of a great flood for centuries. Nostradamus's predictions have captivated believers and skeptics alike. Some call him a visionary, others a fraud. But regardless of where you stand, one thing is undeniable. Many of his prophecies seem eerily relevant to our world today. Among his most chilling predictions was a vision of great floods that would reshape the world. He wrote of overflowing rivers and great fire in the sky, descriptions that bear an unsettling resemblance to the climate disasters we are witnessing now. In recent years, extreme weather events have become more frequent, more intense, and more devastating. Just recently, tropical cyclone Alfred tore through Australia, leaving thousands displaced and entire towns submerged underwater. In the United States, Hurricane Helene unleashed its fury on North Carolina, toppling trees, flooding neighborhoods and cutting power to thousands. And in Spain, relentless floods have caused massive destruction, bringing entire cities to a standstill. For those who study Nostradamus, these disasters are no coincidence. His quatrains have long warned of rising waters, intense storms, and natural catastrophes that would shake the foundations of civilization. Some believe that his prophecies were not just symbolic poetry, but actual glimpses into a future where humanity would be forced to confront the consequences of ignoring the signs. And yet, Nostradamus was far from the first to warn of such devastation. The Bible tells the story of a flood that wiped out nearly all of humanity, a flood so vast, so consuming, that only one family, Noah's family, survived. It was a moment of divine judgment, a reset for the world, and a powerful message about heeding warnings before it's too late. Is history repeating itself? For centuries, people have dismissed apocalyptic predictions, believing them to be mere superstition. But as hurricanes intensify, wildfires rage, and entire coastlines disappear beneath rising sea levels, the warnings are becoming impossible to ignore. Scientists have long warned of the dangers of climate change, yet many continue to turn a blind eye. Nostradamus's writings serve as a reminder that our world is fragile, that what seems unshakable today can be washed away tomorrow. His predictions, paired with the biblical flood narrative, paint a stark picture of a world at a tipping point. Are we standing on the edge of another great reckoning? Or is there still time to change course? As we explore these ancient prophecies and their connection to today's world, we invite you to reflect on what these warnings mean. Could they be divine messages, or simply history repeating itself? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. The rise of climate disasters. In 2025, throughout history, natural disasters have shaped civilizations, altering the course of human history in ways both catastrophic and transformative. Nostradamus, the famed 16th century seer, predicted that in 2025, the world would witness an unprecedented surge in climate disasters, raging wildfires, relentless floods, and storms of unimaginable strength. Some dismissed his warnings as vague poetry, but recent events suggest otherwise. The Spanish floods of 2024 serve as a chilling reminder of what may lie ahead. Entire cities were submerged as torrential rains turned streets into rivers. Families lost everything, businesses were destroyed, and emergency responders struggled to keep up with the devastation. Meanwhile, in Australia, tropical cyclone Alfred left thousands homeless, and in the United States, Hurricane Helene ripped through North Carolina, uprooting trees, flooding entire neighborhoods, and leaving communities in the dark. These disasters are not isolated incidents. They are part of a growing trend. Scientists have long warned that climate change is fueling more extreme weather patterns. Rising global temperatures have intensified hurricanes, prolonged droughts, and made wildfires more frequent and severe. In California, wildfires have consumed millions of acres, leaving behind charred landscapes that look eerily like the aftermath of Nostradamus' prophecy of fire in the sky. The question is, are these events merely a consequence of environmental change, or do they hold a deeper, more prophetic meaning? The Bible has long spoken of floods and fire as instruments of both destruction and renewal. The great flood of Noah's time wasn't just about water washing away the earth, it was about judgment and rebirth. Likewise, the book of Revelation speaks of the earth trembling, seas roaring, and fire consuming the wicked. Could the disasters of today be warnings of something even greater? Many believe we are witnessing the fulfillment of ancient prophecies, both from Nostradamus and the Bible. The parallels are striking. In his cryptic quatrains, Nostradamus described a time when nature would turn against humanity, a period when the very earth would cry out in warning. The dry earth will grow drier, and suddenly, great floods will come. This prediction eerily aligns with what climate experts are now calling a global crisis: extreme droughts followed by record-breaking floods, disrupting entire ecosystems. Yet, skeptics argue that Nostradamus' words are too vague to hold true meaning. They claim his prophecies are written in a way that allows for endless interpretation, but even they cannot deny the rapid changes we are witnessing. The climate is shifting at an alarming rate, and whether or not one believes in prophecy, the consequences of inaction are real. If history has taught us anything, it is that civilizations that fail to heed the warnings of the past are doomed to repeat their mistakes. The people of Noah's time ignored the signs, dismissing them as nonsense until it was too late. Will we make the same mistake? As these disasters unfold, humanity faces a crucial decision. Will we continue down this path, dismissing the warnings as mere coincidence? Or will we take action, preparing, adapting, and perhaps even repenting? The answer may determine not just the future of our planet, but the fate of humanity itself. What do you think? Are these disasters just part of an evolving climate cycle, or do they hold a deeper significance? The Bible's flood, a parallel to today's world. The story of Noah's Ark is one of the most well-known narratives in the Bible. A world consumed by corruption, a divine warning, and a man chosen to prepare for an impending catastrophe. The flood was not just an act of destruction, it was a moment of reckoning, a reset for humanity. Imagine being Noah, waking up every day to a world that ignored the signs, where people laughed at the thought of a coming disaster. The skies were still clear, the land still dry until it wasn't. The moment the rain began, the warnings that once seemed absurd became undeniable. People pounded on the doors of the ark, begging for refuge, but it was too late. Now, fast forward to today, families in Australia watched in horror as tropical cyclone Alfred ripped through their homes, leaving destruction in its wake. In Spain, entire communities were swallowed by the floods of 2024. In the US, Hurricane Helene tore through North Carolina, uprooting lives and leaving thousands displaced. Those who ignored evacuation orders suddenly found themselves trapped in rising waters, desperately seeking rescue. The question arises, Are these just the consequences of an unstable climate, or are they warnings of something much greater? Just as in Noah's time, the signs are everywhere. Scientists sound the alarm about worsening climate conditions, warning that floods and hurricanes will only grow stronger. Yet, much like the people in Noah's day, many choose to ignore these warnings, believing life will continue as it always has. The Bible speaks of the flood as a judgment on a world that had lost its way. Could these modern disasters be signaling something similar? Are they calling humanity to wake up, to reconsider our path before it's too late? The parallels are striking. In Noah's time, people carried on with their daily lives, unaware or unwilling to acknowledge the destruction that loomed ahead. Today we scroll through news of disasters on our phones, shake our heads, and move on with our lives, until the disaster reaches our doorstep. History has a way of repeating itself, and those who fail to learn from it are doomed to face the same fate. The flood was not just about destruction, it was about renewal. After the storm, Noah emerged into a new world, one cleansed and given a second chance. Perhaps that is the message in today's disasters. A wake-up call. A reminder that change is necessary, that we cannot ignore the signs forever. What do you think? Are these disasters merely nature's course, or do they hold a deeper warning for us all? Humanity's response to warnings. Throughout history, the flood wasn't just a disaster, it was a turning point, a call for transformation, a warning ignored until it was too late. The story of Noah isn't just a biblical account, it's a lesson in human nature. The people of his time were given a chance to change. They had warnings, they had time, but they laughed at Noah as he built the ark. They carried on with life as if nothing could disrupt their world. Then the floodwaters came, and suddenly the warnings they had ignored became their reality. Fast forward to today. The warnings haven't stopped. Scientists, environmental experts, and even religious leaders are raising alarms about the worsening state of our planet. Rising sea levels, increasing temperatures, intensifying storms, all signs that something bigger is happening. Yet just like in Noah's time, many continue to look the other way. Let's take a closer look at recent events. In Spain 2024, relentless rain poured down in ways never seen before. Rivers swelled beyond their banks, sweeping away homes, vehicles, and entire communities. The floodwaters moved with an unstoppable force, leaving behind destruction, heartbreak, and loss. Residents spoke of their terror, watching as everything they owned disappeared beneath the water. Some dismissed it as an unusual storm, a natural phenomenon. But experts knew better. This was another sign of a changing world. Then there was Tropical Cyclone Alfred in Australia, a storm so powerful it displaced thousands. In an instant, people found themselves without homes, without power, and without hope. North Carolina saw similar devastation with Hurricane Helene. Entire communities were torn apart. People woke up to their streets turned into rivers, their neighborhoods unrecognizable. Are these just freak occurrences, or are they part of something much bigger? For decades, climate scientists have warned of these disasters becoming more frequent and more extreme. Studies confirm that global temperatures are rising, ice caps are melting, and ocean levels are creeping higher. The consequences? More flooding, stronger hurricanes, longer droughts, and ultimately a planet that is becoming more unstable. The Bible tells us that before the Great Flood, the world was corrupt, evil and lawlessness ruled. People ignored righteousness. They ignored the signs. And then the flood came. Are we seeing the same patterns today? Think about what we witness in the world. Wars, unrest, rising crime, moral decay, many of the same issues described in ancient texts. Humanity is heading toward disaster, but are we doing anything to stop it? Jesus himself spoke of the end times, saying in Matthew 24:37, "As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man." He warned that people would go about their daily lives, ignoring the warnings, until sudden destruction came upon them. It's an uncomfortable thought, but it's also a call to action. The flood wasn't just about destruction, it was about renewal. It was a second chance for humanity. Noah listened, prepared, and survived. So what can we learn from him? First, we must be willing to recognize the signs. Whether it's biblical prophecy or scientific evidence, the message is clear. We are headed toward an era of greater turmoil. The question is, how will we respond? Second, we must prepare, not just physically, but spiritually. Noah wasn't just a builder, he was a man of faith. He trusted God's word and acted accordingly. In today's world, where chaos and uncertainty seem to dominate, faith can be our anchor. And finally, we must take action. Noah built an ark. Today, we must build resilience. That means taking steps to protect our environment, strengthening our communities, and preparing for what may come. Just as the flood marked both an end and a beginning, we too have a choice. Will we ignore the warnings, or will we open our eyes and take action before it's too late? What do you think? Are these disasters just random, or do they hold a deeper meaning? Let us know in the comments. Understanding the signs of prophecy. Throughout history, humankind has sought guidance from the words of prophets, searching for meaning in times of chaos. Among the most enigmatic figures of prophecy is Nostradamus, whose cryptic quatrains have fascinated scholars, skeptics, and believers alike. His verses, written over 450 years ago, have been linked to numerous global events, from wars to natural disasters, leaving many to wonder, did he truly see the future, or are we simply drawing connections where none exist? One of Nostradamus's most unsettling predictions speaks of rivers overflowing and fire in the sky. Some interpret this as a reference to extreme weather events, hurricanes, wildfires, and rising sea levels, aligning with the disasters we witness today. The recent devastation caused by Hurricane Helene in North Carolina and Cyclone Alfred in Australia mirrors the destruction Nostradamus described centuries ago. Likewise, the catastrophic floods in Spain left communities underwater, forcing thousands from their homes. These disasters seem to echo his warnings of nature's wrath. But Nostradamus was not the first to warn of a world on the brink of catastrophe. Long before him, the Bible spoke of a time when people would ignore the signs of impending doom. In Matthew 24:37-39, Jesus himself compared the last days to the time of Noah. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. This passage is chillingly relevant today. People live their lives as if nothing is wrong, dismissing warnings of global instability, environmental decline, and moral decay. Just as the people in Noah's time laughed at his preparations for a flood they couldn't imagine, many today turn a blind eye to the increasing signs of crisis. Could we be living in a similar moment of ignorance? Consider this. In ancient times, floods, earthquakes, and storms were seen as divine warnings, signs that humanity had strayed too far. Today we have scientific explanations for these phenomena, but does that make them any less significant? If anything, the predictability of these disasters should make us take them more seriously. The connection between prophecy and real-world events isn't about fear, it's about awareness. Whether through biblical scripture or Nostradamus's quatrains, the message is the same. Change is coming. The question is, will we recognize it before it's too late? There's another key aspect to these prophecies: leadership. Nostradamus warned of a figure who would emerge in times of crisis, a leader who would capitalize on global fear and instability. Many believe this could refer to a political or military figure rising to power amidst today's divisions. The Bible also warns of deceivers in the last days, leaders who will claim to bring peace, but will instead lead people astray. Could this prophecy be unfolding now? We see political unrest across nations, growing authoritarian rule, and leaders who exploit chaos for personal gain. Social media has become a tool of manipulation, controlling narratives and influencing millions. Technology plays a crucial role in all of this. Nostradamus could never have predicted the digital revolution, yet his descriptions of global deception eerily align with the power of artificial intelligence, surveillance, and the spread of misinformation. In a world where truth is distorted and fear is used as a weapon, are we seeing the conditions for his predictions to take shape? As the world faces more turmoil, both natural and man-made, it's essential to ask, are we ignoring the warnings? Are we too distracted to see the bigger picture? The prophecies of Nostradamus and the Bible are not just stories of destruction, they are calls to awareness, to preparedness, and to spiritual reflection. If we ignore the signs, we risk repeating history. But if we open our eyes, we might just be able to change the course of our future. What do you think? Warnings from experts and scientists. For decades, climate scientists have been sounding the alarm, warning that rising sea levels, intensifying storms, and shifting weather patterns are accelerating at an unprecedented rate. What once seemed like distant threats are now unfolding before our very eyes. Hurricanes are growing stronger, wildfires are raging longer, floods are displacing entire communities. The question is no longer if disaster will strike, but when, where, and how severe will it be? Could this be the modern equivalent of Noah's warning? In Noah's time, people ignored the signs. They lived their lives as though nothing would ever change, even as the storm clouds gathered. He urged them to prepare, but they mocked him. Then the rain began to fall. Today, scientists and experts are urging action, yet many remain skeptical or indifferent. Are we too dismissing the warnings that could save us? Dr. Michael Mann, a leading climate scientist, warns that the window for meaningful change is closing. We are no longer talking about preventing climate change. We are now in the era of adaptation and survival, he states. Reports from NASA and NOAA confirm that global temperatures are rising at a record pace, pushing our planet toward irreversible tipping points. This isn't speculation, it's measurable, observable science. The reality of climate disasters. Let's consider some of the latest disasters. The 2024 Spanish floods left cities underwater, displacing thousands and causing economic losses in the billions. Hurricane Helene battered North Carolina with historic winds, leaving destruction in its wake. Cyclone Alfred tore through Australia, uprooting homes, businesses, and lives. These events align eerily with what scientists predict will become routine if global temperatures continue to rise unchecked. Nostradamus warned of rivers overflowing and fire in the sky. Whether one views his words as prophecy or poetic coincidence, there's no denying that we are living in an age of unprecedented natural disasters. The Bible also speaks of times when the earth will groan under the weight of human recklessness. Romans 8:22 states, "For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now." Many theologians believe this reflects the growing environmental crises we see today. Extreme weather events are increasing, not just in frequency, but in intensity. The 10 most expensive natural disasters in US history have all occurred within the last 2 decades. Storms that were once considered once in a lifetime are happening every few years. The average temperature of the planet has risen by 2 degrees Celsius since the late 19th century, leading to a domino effect: melting glaciers, rising sea levels, and prolonged droughts. Some scientists even argue that climate change is contributing to geopolitical instability. As resources become scarcer, conflicts over water, food, and habitable land will increase. The Pentagon has identified climate change as a national security threat, recognizing that it could lead to forced migration, economic collapse, and social unrest. So, how much time do we really have left to prepare? The urgency of action. Some scientists predict that within the next 30 years, entire coastal cities could be underwater. Miami, New York, New Orleans, and numerous island nations are at risk of vanishing beneath the waves. Food and water shortages will become more frequent as droughts intensify, and if extreme heat continues to rise, some regions may become uninhabitable. This isn't just an environmental issue, it's a humanitarian crisis in the making. Yet, history teaches us that warnings alone are not enough. People must be willing to take action. Just as Noah built an ark long before the first raindrop fell, We too must prepare for what lies ahead. What can we do? So what can be done? While it's easy to feel powerless in the face of such overwhelming challenges, history has shown that human ingenuity and resilience can overcome even the greatest obstacles. Invest in sustainable solutions. Governments and businesses must prioritize clean energy, reforestation, and responsible resource management. Cutting emissions isn't just about protecting the environment, it's about securing a livable future for generations to come. Strengthen disaster resilience. Communities must invest in flood barriers, emergency response systems, and infrastructure that can withstand extreme weather. Many cities are already adapting, but progress is slow. Individual action matters. While systemic change is crucial, small actions collectively make a difference. Reducing waste, conserving water, supporting sustainable businesses, and educating. Others are all ways we can contribute. Spiritual preparedness. Just as Noah's faith guided him through the storm, we too must find strength in faith during uncertain times. The Bible reminds us in Proverbs 3:5-6, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Advocating for change, contacting representatives, supporting climate policies, and spreading awareness are all critical in pushing for large-scale action. Are we running out of time? While the situation is urgent, it's not yet hopeless. Scientists say that if we act now, we can still mitigate the worst impacts of climate change. The longer we wait, the fewer options we'll have. Yet history shows that civilizations often ignore warning signs until disaster strikes. From the fall of ancient Rome to the Dust Bowl of the 1930s, there are countless examples of societies failing to act in time. Will we repeat those mistakes, or will we learn from the past? A biblical parallel. The story of Noah is more than just an account of destruction. It's a lesson in obedience, foresight, and preparation. When God told Noah to build the ark, he didn't delay. He followed the instructions precisely, even when others doubted him. And because of his faithfulness, he and his family were saved. In Matthew 24:37-39, Jesus draws a direct comparison between Noah's time and the end times. "For as were the days of Noah, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. For as in those days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." Many theologians interpret this passage as a warning. People will ignore the signs, just as they did before the flood. Are we doing the same today? The difference is that we have the benefit of knowledge. We have science, history, and prophecy, all pointing in the same direction. We have time to prepare, though that window is shrinking. At its core, this is more than a story about climate. It's about choices. Will we choose to listen, to adapt, to protect future generations? Or will we dismiss the signs until it's too late? The truth is, the world isn't ending tomorrow, but the decisions we make today will determine what kind of world our children inherit. What do you think? Are we repeating the mistakes of the past, or do we still have time to change course? Let us know in the comments. How can we prepare? Throughout history, those who have listened to warnings and taken action have survived, while those who ignored them suffered the consequences. Noah is one of the most well-known examples. He didn't wait until the first raindrop fell. He prepared long before disaster struck. He acted in faith even when others mocked him. Today we face a different kind of flood. Instead of rain, we see rising seas, hurricanes, wildfires, and other extreme weather events that threaten our homes, communities, and way of life. Scientists and experts warn that unless we act now, we could be facing an era of devastation on a scale we have never seen before. But like Noah, we have an opportunity to prepare. The question is, will we take it? Learning from the past. When Noah built the ark, it wasn't just about saving himself and his family. It was about obeying God's call to prepare. In Genesis 6:14-22, God gave Noah specific instructions on how to build the ark, down to the measurements and the materials. Noah didn't question or delay. He acted. In the same way, we must take proactive steps. Whether or not one believes that current climate disasters are divine warnings, the reality is that preparation can save lives. The people of New Orleans learned this the hard way when Hurricane Katrina struck in 2005. Many ignored evacuation orders, believing they could ride out the storm. Tragically, thousands lost their lives. Contrast this with Japan, a country that has spent decades investing in disaster preparedness. Because of their early warning systems and infrastructure, Japan is able to withstand earthquakes and tsunamis that would otherwise be catastrophic. Their actions reflect the principle that preparedness is not paranoia, it's wisdom. Practical steps for survival. What can we learn from Noah and from history? What steps can we take to prepare for the increasing natural disasters and instability we face today? Building resilient communities. Just as Noah's Ark provided a safe refuge, modern communities must invest in infrastructure that can withstand climate extremes. Governments, local leaders, and individuals must advocate for stronger flood defenses, fire prevention measures, and early warning systems. Personal preparedness. Having an emergency plan can make the difference between life and death. Every household should have a disaster kit, a communication plan, and an evacuation strategy. Just as Noah stored food for the journey, we should have supplies ready for unexpected crises. Climate adaptation. While we cannot prevent every disaster, we can reduce our risk. Cities that plant more trees experience lower temperatures. Coastal communities that restore wetlands are less likely to experience severe flooding. Simple science-backed solutions can help protect us. Spiritual readiness. Noah's story is not just about physical survival, it's about faith. In times of crisis, fear can take over, but as believers we are called to stand firm. Proverbs 3:5-6 reminds us, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight." The role of faith in uncertain times. Faith and wisdom go hand in hand. Faith gives us the courage to act, and wisdom helps us make the right choices. Noah had both. He trusted God, and he took practical steps to prepare. In Matthew 7:24-27, Jesus tells the parable of the wise and foolish builders. The wise man built his house on the rock, while the foolish man built on sand. When the storm came, only the house on the rock remained standing. This is a powerful lesson. Those who ignore the signs and fail to prepare, whether physically or spiritually, will struggle when the storms of life hit. But those who take action, seek knowledge, and place their faith in God will stand firm. Are we running out of time? Many experts say that the coming years will determine the future of our planet. If we fail to act, the consequences will be dire. Yet we have been given time, a chance to change course, to prepare, to build our own arks. The Bible warns that in the days of Noah, people went about their lives as if nothing would change until it was too late. Matthew 24:38-39 states, "For as in the days before the flood they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day when Noah entered the ark, and they were unaware until the flood came and swept them all away." Are we living in a similar time? Are we ignoring the warnings in favor of comfort and complacency? Faith, wisdom, and action. Noah's story is a reminder that preparation is not fear. It's faith in action. It's wisdom. It's the difference between being swept away and standing firm. If we apply the same principles today, spiritually, emotionally, and practically, we can face the future with confidence. Faith, wisdom, and action saved Noah. They can save us too. The flood was not the end of the story. After the waters receded, God sent a sign, a rainbow stretching across the sky. It was more than just a natural phenomenon. It was a promise, a covenant, a reminder that no matter how dark the storm, hope remains. Today we find ourselves in turbulent times. The world faces disasters, conflicts, and uncertainty. But just as Noah and his family emerged from the ark into a renewed world, humanity has always found ways to rebuild, to adapt, and to survive. Finding strength in the midst of chaos. After every disaster, we see resilience. We see communities coming together to rebuild homes destroyed by hurricanes. We see volunteers helping families displaced by floods. We see scientists working to find solutions to protect our planet. Even in devastation, there is hope. The question is, what role will we play? Will we ignore the warnings or will we take action? Noah prepared because he had faith, but he also acted. He built, he gathered, he protected. Today, we can do the same. Whether through disaster preparedness, caring for the environment, or strengthening our spiritual lives, we each have a part to play. What can you do today? Reflect. What warnings are you ignoring? What changes do you need to make in your life? Prepare. Do you have a plan for emergencies? Are you taking steps to protect your family and community? Take action. Whether it's spreading awareness, supporting disaster relief efforts, or simply making small lifestyle changes, every step matters. Faith, wisdom, and action. These saved Noah. They can save us too. Do you believe these events are just coincidences, or do they hold a deeper meaning? Are we witnessing something greater unfolding before us? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay informed on biblical prophecy and real-world events, like this video, and subscribe to Bible Pathways. Let's spread awareness together.